They say memory fades over time. But what if it isn't your memory fading? What if something out there is slowly erasing you? From your friends, from your past, from existence itself. Tonight's story isn't about ghosts. It's about forgetting. And the terrifying moment you realize you've already been forgotten. Welcome to Bloodthirsty Forest. Don't get lost.
I don't remember exactly when things stopped making sense, but I do remember the cabin. It wasn't there on the first day. We'd hiked 5 miles into the mountains. No roads, no cell signal, no signs of civilization. Just trees, dirt, and the kind of silence that presses down on your ears. There were 4 of us. Me, Colin, Jess, and Mateo. We weren't hardcore hikers, just a group of friends chasing some early summer air before finals week swallowed us whole. The first night was normal. Campfire, laughter. Cheap whiskey passed in a dented flask. The stars were unreal, like someone had painted them too bright on purpose. But the next morning, when I unzipped my tent and looked out over the ridge, there was a cabin at the tree line, a cabin that hadn't been there the day before. At first I thought I was still dreaming, but when the others climbed out of their tents, they saw it too. No one said anything right away, we just stared. It wasn't old exactly, but it wasn't new either. The wood was dry and pale as if the sun had bleached it for years. No smoke, no sign of life. Mateo broke the silence. That wasn't there yesterday's, right? We all nodded. That's when we should have packed up and left. But we didn't, because curiosity is louder than fear at first. We voted to check it out after breakfast. Jess said it was probably an old ranger's outpost. Colin joked about squatters or hermits. Mateo didn't say anything. He just kept looking at the cabin like it was staring back. We walked in a loose line, boots crunching the underbrush. The closer we got, the more wrong it felt. Not threatening, just off. The windows were too clean. The steps leading to the porch had no moss. No dust, no cobwebs, no smell of mildew or rot. Like someone cleaned it yesterday, Jess whispered. But no one lived out here. No roads, no power. And still, the door wasn't locked. Inside it was quiet. The air felt thick, like it hadn't moved in years. But the place wasn't abandoned, not really. There was furniture, a table, 4 chairs, a dusty mirror, an old lantern. And in the center of the table, a photograph. It was face down. Colin flipped it over. It showed 4 people. A blurry photo, aged and yellowed but unmistakable. It was us, standing in front of this very cabin, wearing the same clothes we had on, same poses, same expressions, except I wasn't in it. I felt my chest tighten. Colin looked at me, confused. That's weird, you took the photo? I looked him dead in the eye. I'm right here, I didn't take it, I'm supposed to be in it. They all stared at me, then at the photo, then at each other. Jess frowned. What's your name again? I laughed. A dry, awkward sound. Very funny, Jess. But no one laughed with me. Mateo tilted his head slightly. Wait, seriously, what's your name again? I looked at all 3 of them. Their expressions were blank, confused, as if I'd just shown up this morning. It's me. You guys, we've been friends since high school. We drove up here together, remember? Colin rubbed the back of his neck. Nah, man, we came up here with just the 3 of us. He pointed at Jess, then Mateo, then himself. 3 fingers, 3 people. No room for a 4th. And that's when I noticed something else. There were only 3 sleeping bags at the campsite. I ran, back through the trees, over the ridge, down toward the tents. I unzipped each one in a panic, expecting to see mine. Nothing. No sign of my bag, no clothes, no pack. It was like I'd never been there at all. When I looked back, the cabin was gone. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, took 3 steps forward. Still gone. Just trees. Just silence. And somewhere behind me, a faint laughter. Not cruel, not mocking. Just distant, fading. Like a joke told a long time ago that no one remembered the punchline to. That night I sat alone by the cold fire pit. The others didn't come back. No voices, no movement in the trees. Only the wind whispering my name. Or maybe not even that. Maybe just my memory trying to hold on. The stars were still too bright. The air too still. And in the silence I realized maybe the cabin had been there yesterday. And maybe I hadn't. I stayed by the fire pit until morning. The sun rose like it didn't care. Everything looked normal, but not in a comforting way. More like a film set. The trees too symmetrical, the light too even, the colors slightly desaturated. I walked back to where the cabin had been. Still nothing. Just a ring of mushrooms growing in a perfect circle where the structure should have stood. I tried to convince myself it was a dream, or a panic attack. I even slapped myself once, hard enough to sting. Didn't wake up. I started hiking. No compass, no trail. Just a rough sense of direction and fading adrenaline. By mid-afternoon, I reached the edge of a gravel road. An old pickup truck passed. I flagged it down. The man driving looked at me like I'd crawled out of the dirt. "You all right, son? You out here alone?" I nodded. Then paused. "No, I came with friends." He blinked. "What friends?" I didn't answer. He gave me a lift into the nearest town. Somewhere called Deep Hollow, population maybe 200. They let me use a landline at a tiny diner. I called Colin, straight to voicemail. "Guess me, the number you have dialed is not in service." Mateo. Rings once, then silence. Not even a click, just nothing. I stayed in town that night. The motel room smelled like mildew and oranges. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photo. The one on the cabin table. 3 friends, 1 memory erased. And the worst part? I didn't remember my own last name. I stared in the mirror for hours that night, trying to remember my childhood, my house, my mom's voice. Nothing, just flickers. Shadows of facts. Like someone had taken the outline of me and started erasing from the inside out. That was a week ago. Since then, I've been trying to hold on to what's left. I write things down. My name, my birthday, the cabin, my friends, the laughter, the picture. I read it every morning, every night. Because I think, no, I know I'm next. They'll take it all. My place, my face, my past. And soon, even the memory that I ever existed. I haven't spoken to anyone in days. Not really. The people at the motel stopped calling me by name. The cashier at the gas station looked through me. Even my reflection feels thinner now, like the mirror doesn't recognize me. This morning when I woke up, I'd forgotten how my voice sounded. So I whispered into the mirror, "My name is," and I choked. Not from fear, from absence. There was nothing to say. I went back to the woods. I don't know how I found the place again. The path seemed to make itself under my feet, and there, just as before, was the ring of mushrooms. And now in its center, the cabin, just like before, unchanged, waiting. The door was open this time. Inside, the same table, same chairs, same mirror. And a new photograph, face down, just like last time. I picked it up. This one showed a cabin from the outside. 4 people standing in front of it. But not Colin, not Jess, not Mateo. It was me. And 3 strangers I didn't recognize. One of them looked exactly like the man who gave me a ride to town. Another, I swear, was the motel clerk. The third? That was the worst part, because I looked at that blurry face, pale and soft, and I knew it was the me I was about to become. A version that didn't remember the truth. A version that accepted the silence. I put the photo down. I sat in the chair that felt like it was mine. The air grew thick. The mirror flickered, and in that moment I understood. The cabin doesn't appear in the world. It appears in you, when you start to forget. When you no longer belong to anyone else's story. When the world stops saying your name. That's when it shows up, and invites you in. If you're hearing this, it means something of me still exists. But if you ever see a cabin that wasn't there yesterday, don't go inside. Because when it finds you, you won't come back the same. Or worse, you might come back, and no one will remember you ever left.